they have been reduced to a name on your list and you have been reduced to a name on their list. And if that name does not invoke any other feelings or you don't quickly produce them right after that, it's going to come down to numbers and it's going to be a race to the bottom. Welcome to the Maven Marketing Podcast. Today is Maven Monday. I'm your host, Brandon Welch, and I'm joined by Caleb Big Money Agee. He's got that big money. You saw it in the title. Today we're talking about big money on lead generation. Big money you are spending one way or the other on generating opportunities for your company.
Yeah, hopefully not big money wasted.
You know what? I'm hearing it a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the business we're in, is to fix that wasted advertising. Why do we exist, Nate?
We exist to create a world where entrepreneurs can confidently grow without wasting money on advertising.
That's what we're doing here at Frank and Maven, creating a world where entrepreneurs can confidently grow without wasting money on advertising. And this is the podcast where we help you do that, to eliminate waste in advertising, grow your business so you can achieve the big dream. And it all starts with a lead, right?
Yeah. That's usually the beginning of your business journey in marketing. Is you need people who need what you're selling, and lead generation is kind of the first. We call it a today customer usually.
Yes.
That person that just needs, they woke up and said, I need you today.
So there are two basic ways that you might encounter a lead, which would be buying them from a company who's generated the lead for you, or generating them yourself by some sort of means of marketing and advertising, right?
Yeah. To be clear, buying them from another company, we don't mean buying them from your agency. We mean from some other lead source that they go out and claim to be a conglomerate of a lot of places that people can choose from providers.
A vendor,
right?
yeah. Somebody who didn't do the service properly. They're not in your business to perform the service, but they're marketing for your industry.
That's right.
Practically for home improvement, we see a lot of like Angie's List, Quinn Street, Modernize. There's lead providers, aggregators for all industries, right?
So think like if you've ever shopped for houses, you see it on Zillow or Realtor.com. You'll see select this agent, right? And it's that agent is paying for you as a lead.
There's all sorts of them. And if you've ever been in the business of sales, you know that there's leads of different varying qualities, and you know you can go to people to buy them. And if you're a business owner right now, you've definitely been faced with that opportunity. So we know what that is.
Yep.
We're hearing a lot lately. People are coming to us going, why are my leads not performing like they used to? And there's a number of reasons for that. Obviously, we're facing some headwinds. Longer term buying products like big ticket items are just taking longer for people to say yes.
That's right.
Uncertainty with the political nature of things, uncertainty with interest rates, and just should I buy right now? It's not that people are flat broke, but they're holding on to their pennies a little longer than they used to. So all business moving a little slower affects that. But the slowest and the leads that have fallen like below profitability, and I'm encountering some companies that are like, oh my goodness, this isn't even working. Like I'm losing money. Usually have something to do with a big part of their marketing coming from leads they've purchased from somebody else. And so we're going to talk about two things. What happens when you buy leads from somebody, and then what happens when you create your own, and then make a case for maybe which one of those you should choose based on the maturity and the, ability of your business at the moment.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That's right.
So buying leads, if you've done this before, you know that you are buying them from some national company who's probably just better or more equipped at marketing than you are.
Yeah.
They're good at paid traffic. They're good at getting traffic to a website of some sort, and mining that data, this elusive lead. And I'd like to stop right there for just a second, because when we're talking about the people that we will eventually go and present a solution to, a lead is not just some imaginary thing we stuck $1 in and got it out. It's not a vending machine. A lead is
a person with a need.
A lead is a person with a need. Say it with me, Nate.
Lead is a person.
A lead is a person with a need. And by the time you've got this system working, it's really easy to just remove the humanity from this record. You essentially got a name, an email address, and a phone number, and maybe a few details shipped to you, and you just think lead.
Yeah. And transaction, right? You put $1 in that lead vending machine, and or a lot of dollars probably, not just $1, a lot of dollars, and you got that lead.
Yes. And I don't know an entrepreneur or a business owner that doesn't actually have a different emotional equation when the person's sitting in front of them. When there's a person standing in front of you saying, "Could you please serve me today?" it automatically rewires our intentions and our conversations and our actions to bond and serve that human being. Like even for the least impressive salespeople I've ever met.
Yeah. You could see 100 people at a home show and have a way different interaction with those 100 people than you would if I emailed you 100 leads.
Absolutely.
You'll have
just
an
by
emotional
nature.
connection. You see their eyes and their face. And
unless you're just mentally not well, you have some sort of chemistry with a person sitting right in front of you.
That's right.
And no matter what we're talking about through the rest of this episode, I want us to go back to that person. If somehow they released their name into the world and their digits or emails for you to contact them, let's look at them through the lens of if they were standing right in front of us.
That's right.
And like a lot of things we talk about in writing and advertising, if we just go back to that place and model that in our minds, a lot of wonderful things happen. Because we become human and not transaction. And there's not a person in the world who wants to be a transaction. There's not a person in the world when they're the consumer, you or I or anybody buying, that wants to be a number on a list. So it's kind of like the law of reciprocation. When I treat this person and I look at the name and I think, I wonder what Angela needs. I wonder what's really going on in her life. And I release that emotional compound effect of just starting to view her as a person. Now, and I'm not saying anybody inherently is like bad, but it's just that happens when we reduce people to
text in an email or in your CRM or something like that.
Yes. So now on the other side of that, though, let's just use Angela. She needed something in your category.
Yeah.
And before she encountered a local company or a company she was familiar with, she encountered one of these, probably a landing page or probably a Facebook ad.
Yeah.
Like, for a company that is selling you the lead.
3 best home improvement providers in Chicago. And she landed on some page, and you happen to be on that page because you're a home improvement provider in Chicago.
Or maybe not. Maybe it's just, there's a lot of them. Modernize is one of these. We'll get all the quotes from the local contractors for you. And they didn't even have to tell you who those contractors are because they don't know, because they haven't sold it to you yet, right? So think about that emotional equation, right? Angela's like, well, that sounds good to me because I don't have to talk to any of these people who are, sometimes repulsive, and it sounds fast and easy to me. And she's already reduced this next step to a transaction because she, just on the other side of that, she's a lead, she's a person with a need, but you're also a company with a need, and she's reduced you to a click or a quote.
Sounds a lot like a Today customer.
It's very much a Today customer. We talk about Today customers. If they are not preconditioned and they don't have any previous relationship or bond with you, they're going to be reduced to price, convenience, or hassle. Okay. And that is sort of the lowest rung of marketing sophistication.
Yeah.
Now, you can win in that area.
You can.
We have people that win in that area all the time. There's a way to do it well. However, you're beginning to see the challenge with buying leads. They have been reduced to a name on your list, and you have been reduced to a name on their list.
Yep.
And if that name does not invoke any other feelings, or you don't quickly produce them right after that, it's going to come down to numbers, and it's going to be a race to the bottom.
Yep. So practically, Angela searches for what you're selling. She ends up on a third-party national website or maybe a regional website that sells her information to you.
Yes.
As a lead. And
who else do they sell it to?
They sell it to anybody else who
maybe your
wants to be on the list.
Yeah.
Technically, I think with the new FTC law that has rolled out, they should be opting in to each
hear from you
provider specifically. So they should have to click Frank and Maven gets my information and so-and-so gets my information. But hopefully that's true.
Yes.
They may have some big bad lawyers that are finding some loopholes in that.
Yeah.
But she had to click your name, then she hit and maybe 3 other names, and then she said, give me my quotes. You paid $300 and you get an email from that place.
Except for imagine her surprise when that's what's been promised to her, get quotes, and you call her and say, hey, my name's Caleb from some company you've never heard of, and I'm about to waste your time.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she hears, right?
Yep.
If she hasn't been conditioned otherwise, right?
Can I give you a 4-hour window to come by and sell you something?
Yeah. And is your husband going to be there?
Yeah.
And what's your credit score, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it just becomes this transaction none of us in our own world would ever want to be involved in, right? And, maybe Angela's need is so great. Maybe the roof is leaking. Maybe the, water heater is going out. Maybe there's something that is so timely that she agrees to take that step. But statistically, what we're seeing is it's less than 10% of people that have, reached out via a purchase lead are actually becoming an appointment or an opportunity to transact.
Yep.
And it's all because these companies that are mining the leads, these imaginary leads, right, are getting them at their minimum viable commitment, which is price, right? So here's what that typically shakes out to, and I've seen tens of thousands of leads purchased through my customers. We're lucky if we can get a 10% appointment set rate. I'm seeing as low as 5 to 6%, and it's like, so they're selling that record to you cheap. Hey, $30 for a lead. And you're like, oh, that makes hay.
Yeah,
because you're comparing it to what a quality relationship is.
Your team had to call 20 of them.
Well, you had to buy $300 worth of them to get one appointment.
That's right.
Right? Because 1 out of 10 and 10 times 30 would be 300. And and a lot of these lead costs are $20 to $50. And that looks awesome. So immediately, this cheap, easy transactional lead that you were like, cool, stick $1 in and let's see what I get out, probably isn't what you thought it is. Now, there are some niche type providers that I'm sure are doing a higher level of curation, and they're calling the customer and they're handling that like warm handoff. Those would be better if you have a provider that does that.
You'll probably pay more for that too.
You'll pay more for that. You'll pay $100, $150. And I would argue it may be worth it to do that because you'll have to have less stress and emotional like headwind on your team to do that. Because it sucks to get said no to. Like
it does.
If you're going to run this type of
pinholes in that balloon.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to run this type of program, you have to make up for the bandwidth like drain by having really resilient people and people that don't just hire phone answerers for this because they will get burned out. They'll get tired of hearing no. Like it's an energy suck. Like to show up and get punched in the mouth 20 times before you get any amount of validation in your business, that takes a special person.
It does.
So, or, in their job. So you can imagine what might happen next. This person reluctantly, 1 out of 10, in a good case, right? 1 out of 10 sets to an appointment. But guess what? They got off that phone and they're like, cool. It sounds like I'm going to get a price on whatever. I'm going to get a good old fashioned, estimate. And we're modeling a lot of this around home improvement because this is where this happens a lot. But honestly, same is true with legal services. Same is true with, high-end medical providers that we've worked with. And so do you think that person is showing up to that appointment with joy? Tuesday at 3:30 rolls around when, Mark from this company they've never heard of is coming over. Yeah. And that leads to a really low energy, high skepticism, low trust interaction. Now, if Mark is really good, he can turn that around. Yeah. He can do it with charisma. He can do it with empathy. He can do it with, demonstrating expertise and helping him solve a problem.
If your company's really good, you can do that with your follow-up process between the appointment and the sales call.
Yes. You can turn that around.
You can.
But they're arriving like lukewarm on arrival, right?
Yeah.
In your world. So if you've got a high degree of talent, you can turn that around. And if the time is right and your price is right, I think you'll still sell some of these people. We're seeing 20 to 30% close rates for good sales guys, right? Yeah. Now, I would put the type of talent that it takes to pull that off in the top 10% of talent in all of like home improvement or service-based selling.
Yeah.
Like it's just going to take that. And I'm thinking of like all the guys we work with, and they would be capable of pulling this off, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it's a grind.
Yeah. And to be clear, we've spent a good few minutes maybe making it clear how we feel about buying your leads from a third party. We've seen it work for some people.
Absolutely.
But most of the time, it is not as good as the next thing we're going to talk about. Which is when you generate your own leads.
Yes,
and
sir.
I think that's the place that we really want you to get to. Usually, I think when you're starting off and maybe you don't have the ability to generate your own leads or maybe hire an agency to do that, yeah, you might have to go to these lead sources and you're going to get scrappy and you're going to take what you can get.
Yep.
But this is a much better situation. So when we talk about creating your own leads, we're talking about going out and running advertisement in your own name, not in the name of some national company.
Random.com.
We're talking about your name, and you are writing an ad, and then you lead them to a place where they can become a lead, which would be a phone call or a form or however that transaction might happen, right?
And just stop to think about that. Like it's kind of like a dating website versus meeting a girl at your church that you've known your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not making any sort of claims. I met my wife on instant messenger, just so you know. But think about the odds just of engaging in a relationship. Let's just call it a friendship with somebody you've known for a long time versus a random meetup.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, your name on a list.
Courtship versus speed dating, right? And there's love and good things to be found. Both can work.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine with me for a minute. Somebody for the last 6 months of their life, every other day has had some sort of humorous or interesting or otherwise entertaining interaction with you because they've either come across your shtick on Facebook, or they've seen you doing good things for your community, or they've seen you talking as an expert about your thing that you do and then how you change lives through your service. And they've seen your ad in a blip, fallen asleep, not needing your product over and over and over and over and over. But over time, that builds a mental real estate, like a category of, I know a guy that does that. I don't even know the guy.
Mm-hmm.
I may never meet the actual guy on TV, but I know a guy, right?
Yep.
And I know a guy, and her name is Lori, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody knows a guy, no matter if it's a guy or a gal, right?
Yep.
So that reputation over time creates a relationship and a familiarity. So by the time they get to that, oh crap, something broke, or oh, great, it's time to actually do the landscaping in the yard, or oh, it's time to make this decision to hang the new ceiling fans or fixtures or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
How is that different?
It's different all the way through. If you think about every stop along the way, there is a much higher level of trust that will happen when they see your caller ID. Because, by the way, your name's on most outbound phone calls, right? I don't know if you guys have noticed, but caller ID is pretty regulated now. When they see your company's name, when they see your salesperson's name on that phone, they're going to have a different kind of trust and want or not want to pick it up, right?
Your company name,
They will feel that when they see maybe before that, they see your Google ad.
Yes.
Among a list of 3 or 4 others, they're going to choose you first. They'll go to your landing page. They're going to be much likely to convert. They'll pick up the phone. When your sales guy shows up, they're going to be much likely to be invested in that conversation.
Yes.
And we watch all those numbers climb. And if you think about the outcome of 10% here, 5% there, a couple percent there, we're talking about thousands and sometimes millions of dollars in a difference of a marketing campaign.
Now, to be clear, it cost you probably more per lead to generate that average response, especially on the first end, on the front end, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to cost you whatever the clicks in your area cost, and you don't have the economies of scale as these big giant national companies do. You're not buying super cheap traffic because you're buying it usually in a tighter geography.
Yep.
And that just supply and demand creates.
The more target, the bigger the cost.
Right, the bigger the cost. But when you get them to your landing page, you're going to know exactly what you promised them. You could say,
Mhm.
get a price from me, or download our guide, or watch this video, or
Mhm.
schedule your free consultation, which means instead of just some random record that you don't know what they filled out to get to you in a lead buying situation, when it's your lead, you know exactly, if you're doing your job, you know exactly what they saw on your website right before they did that.
That's right.
And so you can pick up the conversation there. You can build a relationship out of empathy. You can build a much, much higher quality connection and meet them where they are, which is why we see about a 60 to 70% appointment set rate from those types of leads that are self-generated from a company's advertising.
To be clear, on the first set, we said 5 to 10%.
Yep, 5 to 10 versus 60 to 70. Okay.
Okay.
So I might have had to pay $100 or $150 to generate that, but by the time I got my appointment cost, it's already lower because it's in the 150 to 200 range. If you take out that 70%, or 30% that didn't schedule. And then even an average salesperson ought to be able to close 40 to 50% of those sales.
Yeah.
As long as the sales was aligned to what the person needed. And so, in an average home improvement sale, I'm just looking across a lot of different categories of home improvement, but that's a $400 to $500 cost per acquisition.
Yeah.
Now, you had an agency involved. You had some overhead on the back end of your business, but your overall marketing budget will absorb. And most of the people we're seeing do this in a healthy way are spending 8 to 12% of revenue on marketing. However, the profitability on the back end goes up because guess what? This person trusts you. They're going to pay you a little more. This person isn't going to take so long to close because they already like you and know you. There's going to be some reciprocation of, relational impact that happens. They're probably not going to compare you to other competitors, and they're going to be less likely to complain and be a pain in the butt after the sale because they view it as a fluid relationship and not as some random name that came out and tried to take them for their money.
Yep. Yeah. And so the pros of this side are those higher conversion and touch points. You're going to spend a lot less time to get to the sale because you will convert more of them, right? You'll have a better conversation with at every step along the way. You'll convert more of them. So, but the con here is that you have to be able to pull off this kind of marketing.
Spin that up.
And typically, we would recommend that you hire an agency for that kind of work, unless you are just a marketing nerd.
Yeah.
Or, you listen to the Maven Marketing podcast.
You are probably a marketing
You're probably a marketing nerd. But that would involve setting up Google Ads accounts, Facebook Ads accounts, things like that. And
doing a really consistent script and personalities in your ads.
On the Tomorrow
and brand phrases and all those things that create recall.
Building all of that does require a pretty hands-on approach, which has a cost associated with it as well. And so...
So in the meantime, if you're there and you're going, wow, that sounds awesome, I'd like to have that. Like, I'm just going to tell you, don't ever expect that that's going to happen quickly. It should happen at a rate that pays for itself as it goes along, but it's not going to create excess profit. Like, you need a reserve tank. In most medium-sized markets, we say, if you don't have 50 to 100 grand set aside while we spin this up to let it mature and put those seeds in the ground.
Yeah.
Because grass does not grow faster by tugging on it. You have to wait for that to come out of the soil, right?
I love that.
See that?
It's a good line.
Alexander Hyger. You have to have a maturity curve to this. And once it hits that, man, it starts raining. And I'm not saying that it's mystery money. I'm not saying that you just throw a bunch of money away and you wait for it to work. You'll have clues along the way, the 7 clues along the way, which you can get in the Maven Marketer.
That's right.
But chapter 9, by the way, if you don't have that 50 to 100 grand set aside, probably go knock doors, get scrappy, do your relational circles, do your community fairs, like scrape and scrap to get this business. And I want you to take a piece of every sale that you have and go throw it in a pile called, future campaign marketing.
That's right.
And if you're just starting out, that may take you a while. Or if you've tuned your business and you've been in a business for 5 years and you're struggling to get from that $1 to $2 million mark and everything's tight and you just don't know where that money's going to come from, you can still use that math.
Yep.
We had a great client a while back do that. And they came to us and were like, you shouldn't hire us. You can't afford to do the plan that it would take. I mean, it's well into the 6 figures. And then they were like, well, guide me as I save that money. And we were like, awesome. And they saved a magic amount of money. And then it was money that they weren't emotionally tied to. they could wait for it to work, and they weren't going to cut it off before it had its chance to do its thing.
Yep.
Yeah. If you have to buy leads in the meantime, I don't mind you doing that. Okay.
Yeah.
But don't. You got to be like 3 times on your game to make this work. Okay.
Yeah. We're going to do an episode. We've done it in different ways. We're going to do an episode on tracking your lead through the process. We've done it in different ways. Obviously, you can have a CRM. You can run your business on Google Sheets or Excel if you want as well. And so we're gonna work on an episode for that. We've actually gotten a question in that we're working on a tool to help you. It'll just be a Google Sheet that you can take the template and work with to help track your leads and
these percentages.
And these percentages at every step of the way, because that's the part that you have to know. Indeed. So that you know if the lead source is viable.
Indeed.
And so if you if you're buying leads from a third party, you need to know what those rates are. And if you're blowing past these benchmarks we've talked about, great.
Keep doing it.
Keep going.
Keep doing it. There's some markets that either have a void or somebody who's just really good at sales or has a really good appointment setter. Person on the phone, go give that person like a raise and tell them how valuable they are, because if you're setting above this 10% rate and buying leads, you're doing something very, very well.
Yeah.
Here's a few other things to take away. If you're in that mode, or if you're supplementing your other campaigns with that mode, extreme speed and response times is a non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to have somebody waiting for that to come in and call within seconds.
Yeah.
5 minutes may be too late. Okay. Lots of research on why that is a thing. If you can, mention that you're a preferred partner of the website they just went to. I'm calling because I'm a preferred vendor. I'm a golden star, whatever, with Angie's List.
Mm-hmm.
And man, they called us and wanted us to reach out to you because you had this inquiry, and really, like, literally read back what you think happened to them. Quickly followed by immediate differentiation. Well, that's so great, Mrs. Jones, Angela. We've been in this community for a long time, or, we're a local business and we're local in the community, and we just go bonkers about helping people in your situation have a better outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can stack yourself against the status quo in this moment, like, a lot of companies just want to come out and sell you something, but I really want to understand what's going on here so we can provide the best solution to you.
Yeah.
Like, just that alone, right?
Yes.
So would it be okay if I come out and took a deeper look? I'm going to send Nate out. Nate is a great man. He's got, beautiful wife and a dog named Spot, and you're going to love him. Like, he's just the best expert I've ever heard. And you're building up your company because you haven't had
you didn't have the predisposed marketing
preemption. Of this.
Yeah. And that's
preeminent. Sorry.
What's interesting though, is you are doing essentially, classic marketing, call it like a UVP, unique value proposition.
Yes.
You didn't have a chance to say, here's how we're different, because they picked you from a list.
Yes.
This is your moment. That first touch point is actually their first impression of your company, other than maybe your logo and name on a page before that. And so you have to do your marketing work in about the first, 25 seconds of that call.
It's kind of like door knocking.
Yeah.
You're the marketing and the salesperson all in one 30-second episode. So I actually get excited about that. I would love to have that job.
Some people, it's their worst nightmare.
Most people, nails on a chalkboard. That just, oh man. So it's a unique kind of weirdo that can do that.
Find a weirdo.
But empathize with where they are. Read it back what you thought they heard, and then you use the magic words. I can definitely help with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're validating their concern before you ever show up at their door. You're going to get canceled on. Let me just tell you, if you buy leads and don't do what I'm telling you to do, you're going to get canceled, or it's going to be a half-hearted appointment at best.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow in between that interaction on your first phone call, or quickly while you're there, tell stories about who you recently helped get the same result that they want. Oh, I helped Wanda and Greg do this last week.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let me show you a picture of this project I did. Extra touch points equals extra percentage on your sales close rate. So in between, if you can email, follow up with handwritten notes, call to confirm the appointment, text, send pictures of the
picture of Jimmy that's coming to my house. Yep.
Jimmy Joe. Yep. And then there's the biggest thing I'll leave you with is, do not let clerks run this system. If it's, I'm calling to set your appointment, you failed.
Yeah.
You're You're going to be at the lower end of this, and somebody more talented than you is frankly going to beat you at that game. I have a really awesome client that does this extremely well. They buy tens of thousands of leads a month. Okay. Their process, their script is so chiseled and unbelievably pleasant that they kill it with this method. Okay.
Yeah.
But hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a month they spend on the talent to do that. So if that's your bag, don't leave saying that, my dog is in the fight of you only generating your own leads, but understand that if you don't pay it over here to create this reputation for yourself, you're going to have to pay for it in talent and the heartache of recruiting and managing that talent, which is its own beast.
That's right.
So, okay. I think we've gotten people to where they need to be. We did.
Yeah.
You get to choose which one's best for you. If you're in a place where you can't afford one or the other, just get scrappy. It's a joy. We live in America. We're in the top 1% of 1% of opportunity to even be able to go out and have a reasonable expectation of trading service for money. And isn't that a beautiful thing?
It is.
So remember that on the days where it's a grind, be grateful for the grind.
Yeah. You could be doing something far worse.
You could be digging ditches, right?
That's right.
So we'll be back here every Monday answering your real life marketing questions, because marketers who cannot teach you why
are just a fancy lie.
Have a great week.